Chapter 605. You really have that much confidence? Shin Xiu asked. Shin Miao said, Do not worry, eldest brother. This matter really has nothing to do with me. Shin Xiu then gave a slight sigh of relief. These days you better not go out of the residence. The Ding capital is not peaceful, and moreover there are some people with ulterior motives. The residence has already increased the guards, so it should be safe. Shin Miao nodded her head. Shin Xiu stood up. He still had military matters to attend to and had to rush back. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly thought of something and turned to look at Shin Miao. Younger sister, do you know any powerful and influential peoples? Shin Miao's heart slightly moved, but her face was calm as she shook her head. Never. Shin Xiu did not say anything more and turned to leave. In fact, Shin Xiu's worries were not wrong. This night, there was a special guest in the residence of Prince Ding. This distinguished guest was not someone else, but the crown prince of the Qin country, Huang Fu Hao, who was incomparably furious because of his younger sister's tragic death. In the throne room, Fu Xiu Yi and Huang Fu Hao's fluttering words finally made the suspicious Huang Fu Hao decide to make this trip. Before Huang Fu Hao came, Fu Xiu Yi let Pei Lang hide in the next room and listened to their conversation through the open dark window. Huang Fu Hao put down the teacup in his hands heavily and did not dawdle with Fu Xiu Yi as he went straight to the point. Prince Ding previously said that there is something fishy about my younger sister. Is it possible to explain? Why is the crown prince so anxious? Fu Xiu Yi smiled faintly. I also deeply regret that Princess Ming was killed. But the current plan is not to immediately catch the murderer. Huang Fu Hao's brows wrinkled and looked at Fu Xiu Yi with a sneer. Could it be that Prince Ding also think that Ben Gong should keep the peace? One do not know what kind of rules your Ming Qi has, but in the Qin country, the murder of a princess is a major event. Even if one were to keep the peace, in the future when Imperial Father knows of the matter, he would definitely seek justice from your emperor. It is only a tribute banquet, but my Qin country's princess lost her life here. Does Prince Ding feel that this is reasonable? There was a faint thread in his words. Fu Xiu Yi shook his head. Since the crown prince is so anxious, then I will not speak in riddles with the crown prince. In general, there is always a reason for a murder case. In this matter, it looked like the Xie brothers and Princess Ming were killed together, but the other party placed the corpses in such a position to humiliate, and it was obvious that they deliberately wanted to ruin Princess Ming An's reputation. That is to say, the other party is obviously targeting Princess Ming, and Huang Fu Hao sneered. Of course I know. To dare to do such a thing, you really have guts. There is no harm for the crown prince to think, in Ming Qi, who would have such enmity with Princess Ming. Huang Fu Hao was stunned for a moment before he frowned and fell into deep thought. Princess Ming had an arrogant temperament and would usually scold or beat the servants. Thus, there were naturally a lot of people who had complaints against her. But ever since she entered the Ming Qi, because of her imperial father's strict orders, one must not get into a deadlock with Emperor Wenhui. Thus, Princess Ming was able to restrain herself. Thus, even though Princess Ming An's actions were presumptuous, to the Ming Qi's officials, she did not offend anyone. Unless, Huang Fu Hao suddenly thought of something. His eyes lit up and he asked in a deep voice, You mean Shin Miao? Fu Xiu Yi smiled, but did not speak. Impossible, Huang Fu Hao said, even if she had enmity with Ming and Ming had teased her, but Shin Miao was only a female, and there were guards by Ming An's side. How could Shin Miao deal with them? Fu Xiu Yi smiled and shook his head. Shin Miao cannot. But you must not forget that she is Shun Xian's daughter. How does Shun Xian treat this daughter? During the tribute banquet, the crown prince had personally seen it. Chapter 606. Huang Fu Hao remembered that on the day of the tribute banquet, when Princess Ming and Shin Miao were in a deadlock, Shun Xian as her father stood on Shun Miao's side from the beginning to the end, and did not hesitate to ignore Emperor Wenhui's expression to show a tough stance. If Shun Xian stood up for his daughter, it was not impossible for Shun Xian's subordinates to act. What about the bastard son of the Xie family? Huang Fu Hao said in a deep voice. Even if Shun Xian stood up for Shin Miao, he would not involve the Xie family for no reason. Xie Ding is still an official in Ming Qi, so Shin Xin will not seek trouble. Fu Xiuyi sighed. Does Crown Prince still not understand? In those days, I originally let the Xie brothers entertain Princess Mingyan, and Princess Mingyan was with the Xie brothers. The Crown Prince and the Princess were siblings, so he knew the Princess's temperament. Shin Miao and Princess Mingyan were in discord, and if Princess Mingyan wanted to deal with Shin Miao, it was understandable. It is just that the Princess is after all a Qin country's people, and Shin Miao is an official's daughter, so it would be inconvenient to take action. The Xie brothers were used well. Huang Fu Hao was stunned and said angrily, "Don't tell me you're saying, 'Don't be angry, Crown Prince.' I originally wanted to nurture the Xie brothers so that they could be my assistants in the future. However, these two people probably don't have the fate to achieve meteoric success. You should understand what happened next. It was probably because the Xie brothers made a mistake when they attacked, so they were the ones who died in the end. They even implicated the princess." Although Huang Fu Hao still had a look of disbelief on his face, he had already begun to ponder in his heart. First, Shin Miao was abducted for no reason, and at that time Huang Fu Hao suspected that it was done by Princess Mingyan, but afterwards seeing that Princess Mingyan did not leave the residence, and did not know anyone in Mingqi, he did not think much about it. Afterwards, Shen Miao was inexplicably sent back to the Shin mansion by that nuisance Princess Rong Xian. And then something happened to Princess Mingyan and the Xie brothers. What Fu Xiuyi said was not wrong. Princess Ming and had a very vengeful character, and if she was previously embarrassed by Shin Miao, she would not have ended the matter so easily. It was true that the Xie brothers often appeared in the residence during those days. If it was for this reason, it was understandable. But was Shin Miao really that capable? Huang Fu Hao felt that something was not right in his heart. Even if Shen Xin doted on Shin Miao and had this ability, it was not a wise move to openly go against the country's princess. Especially now that Shin Xin had just returned to the capital, many things were still not stable. Even if he did not think for himself, he had to think for the other people of the Shin family. Was Shin Xin so stupid? For the sake of his daughter, he would even throw away his rationality? Huang Fu Hao did not listen to anything that Fu Xiuyi said. He felt that Fu Xiuyi's words were somewhat reasonable, but his heart was hesitant. Seeing that Huang Fu Hao was uneasy, Fu Xiuyi did not say anything more. After Fu Xiuyi left, Pei Lang came out from behind the screen. "What is the meaning of your highness?" Pei Lang asked. "Why do you want to lead the conversation to the Shun families?" Fu Xiuyi looked at Pei Lang and shook his head. "Teacher does not know about this. I thought that Shin Miao might have some involvement with the great Liang's Prince Rue." Pei Lang's heart skipped a beat, but he maintained a calm expression on his face. "Your Highness is still hesitating over the matter of the Crown Prince's residence. Prince Rue is from the great Liang dynasty, and Shin Miao had left the capital 2 years ago, so there is no possibility of both of them knowing each other. It would be too far-fetched to say that they were acquainted in these short few months. I know that teacher finds the matter inconceivable," Fu Xiuyi said, "but I have an intuition. There is something fishy between Shin Miao and Prince Rue. There were many coincidences that happened in these days. It was because if Shin Miao and Prince Rue were only acquainted in these short few months, then it would be worth pondering. Prince Rue is proud and arrogant, and even Imperial Father could not get close to him. I also want to know what abilities Shin Miao has." Chapter 607. Pei Lang frowned and asked, "What does that have to do with the Crown Prince's matter today?" Fu Xiuyi smiled and looked at Pei Lang. "Teacher think that Shin Miao alone would not be able to do such a thing, and Shin Xian is not a hot-headed and impulsive person. Just based on the Shin family alone, one would not be able to do such a rash act of killing and robbing." Pei Lang suddenly understood. "Could it be that your Highness thinks?" "Correct," Fu Xiuyi said. "I suspect that this matter is done by Prince Rue." Pei Lang did not speak anymore. Seeing Pei Lang's silence, Fu Xiuyi took the initiative to mention, "Prince Rue's actions are insolent, and the great Liang has many talented people. Thinking about it, with Prince Rue's ability, killing a princess would be an easy matter. It is just that both of us know that Prince Rue and Princess Ming and have no enmity, and have no connection with the Xie family, so it is impossible for him to find trouble for himself without any reason. But if it is because of Shun Miao, then everything makes sense. He smiled faintly, even though there's a saying in this world that one would fly into a rage for a beauty. But I do not think so. There must be some special relationship between Prince Rui and Shun Miao. So your highness had Crown Prince Qin make a move to lure the snake out of its hole? Pei Lang asked. Not bad. Fu Xiao, he said with a smile. Huang Fu Hao is naturally suspicious, and even if he does not believe my words, he will have more suspicions in his heart, and one day he will make a move to probe. If Prince Rui is really involved with Shun Miao, he would definitely make a move. At that time, one would know the relationship between the both of them, and then make other plans. Pei Lang asked, if Prince Rui did not make a move, then what would happen? There is no harm. Fu Xiaoyi said, if Prince Rui did not take action, the Shin family had already gone overboard these days. It is a good thing for us to let Huang Fu Hao deal with the Shun family and suppress the Shin family's strength. Your Highness has already decided to suppress the Shin family? Pei Lang looked at him. Since you can't be of use to me, I naturally won't leave behind any future troubles. Fu Xiaoyi smiled warmly, but his tone was extremely cold. He turned to look at Pei Lang and said, in the future, we will still need Mr. Empress to come up with a plan. Pei Lang repeatedly said that he did not dare. When Fu Xiaoyi left, Pei Lang returned to his room and looked at the lights in front of him and could not help but sigh. 2 years ago, Shun Miao let him lurk beside Fu Xiaoyi to be an informant, and Pei Lang had no choice but to go. He himself also had some skills and was lucky enough to gain Fu Xiaoyi's favor. Now Fu Xiaoyi regarded Pei Lang as the #1 confidant. Just like today when he and Huang Fu Hao were playing the third flower secretly, Fu Xiaoyi did not deceive Pei Lang at all and instead trusted him. Perhaps this was really because Fu Xiaoyi did not guard against Pei Lang at all. Of course, it could be because of Fu Xiaoyi's skill in controlling his subordinates. If a normal person saw their master treating them so generously, they would definitely have a more loyal heart. If Pei Lang was not Shun Miao's person. The more he interacted with Fu Xiaoyi, the more Pei Lang was amazed. Fu Xiaoyi was indeed a person who had the wisdom and the viciousness of a real man. Hiding a dagger in his smile, or willing to be mediocre, he indeed had the means that an emperor should have. Pei Lang even felt that after a few more years or decades, the world would eventually fall into the hands of Fu Xiaoyi, and Fu Xiaoyi would eventually become the master of the world. There was no other reason, but among the princes of Mingqi, there was no one more suitable than Fu Xiaoyi for this position. But Shun Miao purposely wanted to go against Fu Xiaoyi. Pei Lang was not optimistic about Shun Miao, which also meant that he was not optimistic about himself. It was not that he did not selfishly think of defecting, but Shun Miao firmly grasped his Achilles heel. Thus this little bit of unwillingness could only drift away with the wind. He took a glance out of the window. Fu Xiaoyi treated him extremely well. In a separate room, there were no spies placed to guard against him. Pei Lang took a piece of paper from the table and grinded it before picking up a brush and quickly writing. The night was as dark as ink. In the residence of Prince Rui, Xie Jingxing was teasing the white tiger at his feet. The white tiger had eaten a lot recently and was fed by Ji Yushu 5 meals a day. Its body started to swell rapidly and was like an out-and-out fur ball. Even when it was playing, it was not as agile as in the past and always had a look of stupidity. Xie Jingxing was such a picky person that he was too lazy to even carry it and was rather perfunctory when teasing it. A male who looked like a guard walked in from outside and was much younger than Tai Yi. He took out a letter from his bosom and handed it to Xie Jingxing. This is a letter that came out from the residence of Prince Ding and is from Prince Ding's aide, Pei Lang. It is to be sent to the hands of 5th Shun young lady of the Shin mansion. Xie Jingxing raised his eyebrows and took out the letter from the envelope. He quickly scanned through it, and when he saw the last line of words, his lips suddenly hooked up. In the night, his brows were as handsome as a painting and his purple gold robe was overflowing with color, as if he was a person in a painting wearing embroidered clothes. It was clearly a casual smile, but Nan Qi shivered slightly as he sensitively sensed that his master was unhappy again. The last line of words was, "Be sure to stay away from Prince Rue." Chapter 608. The matter of Princess Ming and in the Ding capital had set off an uproar among the commoners, but the people from the Supreme Court of Justice were unable to find any results after a long time. Emperor Wenhui would get angry every few days and even implicated a number of officials, but there was a faint, unsettled result. The crown prince of the Qin country, Huang Fuhao, was naturally dissatisfied, but the people that he sent out did not find anything wrong. As time passed, the common people's enthusiasm for this matter gradually faded. After all, one had to eat and live, and one could not withstand the cold of winter, even if one guarded an unsettled case. In the cold winter days of the Ding capital, there was a big matter in the Shun residence. Xinyu was engaged and would soon be married off. The family that Xinyu was talking about was the Minister of Land, the Wang family that Shun Wan and Qin Roqiu favored. The Wang family only had 2 sons, and the younger son was not even 10 years old. The eldest son was Wang Bai, the person who was engaged to Xinyu. Wang Bai was 24 this year and had already entered officialdom, holding a position in the scholar's residence. He was knowledgeable and was a person with boundless prospects. Even though the position of the Minister of Land was not one of the most important officials in the court, it was inevitable that the colleagues would have more dealings with the Minister of Land. If one was related to the Wang family, there would be a lot of help in one's future career. The help in one's career was naturally seen through Shun Wan's eyes. From Qin Roqiu's point of view, Wang Bai was the eldest son of the Wang family, and currently there were no Tongfang concubines in the residence. Coincidentally, Shun Yu was well-educated and had a strong bookish taste, so if she was able to marry over, she would be able to hold on to Wang Bai's heart, and in the future she would be able to stand firm in the Wang family and give birth to a son and a daughter. Then she would be able to rest easy for the rest of her life. The marriage was directly set by Qin Roqiu and the Wang family, and the gun card was changed. When Xinyu knew about the matter, she naturally made a big fuss. It was just that the usually gentle Qin Roqiu seemed to be determined to marry her off, and Xin Wan, who had always doted on her, did not listen to Xinyu's pleas. Old Shinfurin was even more happy to see it happen. If Xinyu did not marry in the Xin residence, she would have one more mouth to eat, and now the days in the Xin residence were difficult. Xinyu was too noisy, and even if Xinwan usually did not punish his daughter, this time he felt that Xinyu was too much, and in a fit of anger, he locked Xinyu in the ancestral hall and wanted Xinyu to reflect on herself. This night, Xinyu sat alone in the ancestral hall and cried silently. There were traces of fire in the ancestral hall. It was ironic to say that the last time Xin Miao was locked up in this ancestral hall, Ren Wanyin attempted to make Xin Miao marry and take the opportunity to exchange marriage with Xin Qing, who knew that there was a fire midway, and coincidentally, Xin Xian left the capital at that time, thus Xin Miao escaped a calamity. Xinyu looked at the tightly closed doors of the ancestral hall. It seemed that from that time onwards, everything went smoothly for Xin Miao. Because Shun Xian and wife and Xin Xiu were behind Xin Miao to support her, Xin Miao was unscrupulous in whatever she did. Xinyu believed that if there was a day that Xin Miao wanted to marry Fu Xiu, Xin Xian and wife would not be like Qin Roqiu, and Xin want to stop it. And Xin Miao indeed admired Fu Xiu in the past, and if there was a day that Xin Miao's old love was rekindled and the current Xin Xian made a comeback with power in his hands, would Fu Xiu reject? Moreover, Xin Miao was no longer the idiot that was ridiculed by the entire capital 2 years ago. Once she thought that Xin Miao might be together with Fu Xiu, Xin Yu's heart was particularly uncomfortable. She unwillingly thought, why did Xin Miao not burn to death during the fire in the ancestral hall? Just as she was thinking, she heard the sound of the doorknob moving outside. Xinyu thought that it was Qin Roqiu who sent someone to deliver food to her, and said in a fit of pique, I do not want anything. Go out. That sound continued, and Xinyu angrily said, Ask you to scram. Chapter 609. The door creaked open, and a head popped out. It was Shen Dongling. The moment she saw Shen Dongling, Xinyu was also surprised for a moment. Shen Dongling looked outside, and suddenly closed the door and walked to Xinyu. After thinking for a while, she also sat down on the floor and handed the basket in her hands to Xinyu before softly saying, "The old woman guarding outside had gone to drink, and I sneaked in. Knowing that you had not eaten for a day, I was afraid that you would be hungry, so I sent you something to eat. Second sister, you must lower your voice." Xinyu was startled for a moment and saw that Xin Dongling had already opened the bamboo basket and took out stacks and stacks of snacks. Even if Xun Yu was only perfunctory towards Xun Dongling on normal days, there was a trace of being touched now. Thinking that she had not eaten for a day, and Xin Roqiu and Xinwan did not care about it. But this Shu younger sister whom she did not have a deep relationship with was concerned. Her expression towards Xun Dongling became warmer. However, he couldn't eat those pastries no matter what. She said, "Don't waste your energy. I really can't eat anymore." Xin Dongling looked at her. Why is second sister not willing to marry young Master Wang? Wang Gongzi is a good person, and I heard that his family background is good. If second sister goes there, she will be the mistress of the family. Is it because you don't want to leave the Xin family? Xinyu glanced at Xin Dongling. Most likely Xin Dongling stayed in the residence and did not go out much. She was obviously around the same age as Xinyu, but her face had the innocence of a child. Xinyu's heart was despising and envious at the same time. Despising Xin Dongling for being a frog in the well and not knowing that there was always someone better than her in the heavens. Just one Wang Bai was able to move her, and on the other hand, she was envious of Xin Dongling's pure mind, which was more relaxed and happy. Seeing Xin Dongling's appearance, Xinyu suddenly had the urge to spit it out. She smiled bitterly and said, "What does it have to do with me, whether he is a good person or not? After all, he is not that person in my heart." Xin Dongling thought for a while and suddenly said, "Could it be? Second sister already has someone in your heart? So what if I am? So what if I'm not?" Xinyu smiled bitterly. "Who asked me to be born in the Xin family and do not even have the right to choose my future husband?" Father and mother only cared about their own careers and didn't care about what I thought. Sometimes I feel that I might as well be dead. Xin Dongling jumped in fright and hurriedly waved her hands, saying, "Second Jejia, don't think like that. You have to know that in this world, death is the cheapest, but there's nothing left after death. Why don't Jejia change your way of thinking? You should know that the Wang family is not a bad family. Third uncle and third aunt will not harm you. Perhaps the young Master Wang is also the ideal man in many girls' hearts. Perhaps many girls are envious of second older sister's luck. Take me, for example. If I could marry into the Wang family, my aunt would probably go to the temple every day to thank Bodhisattva for granting me such a good marriage." Xinyu shook her head and smiled as she felt that Xin Dongling was somewhat stupid. She and Xin Dongling could not be reasoned with. Especially when he saw Xin Dongling's envious expression. He felt that Xin Dongling was even more inferior. Thinking about it, as a concubine's daughter, it was already good enough to be the legal wife, not to mention the legal wife of the minister-counselor. Xin Dongling saw that Xinyu was still depressed, and her brows turned. When the car arrives at the mountain, there will always be a way. Second older sister need not be sad and troubled over this matter. It is not worth it to tire out one's body. Just like fifth younger sister at that time. At that time, when fifth younger sister was engaged, one heard that fifth younger sister also made a fuss, and seeing that there was no room to turn things around, who knew that eldest Bo and eldest Shun would return and fifth younger sister would naturally be fine. Xin Dongling's words were somewhat muddled, but Xin Yu's heart moved when she heard it. At that time, Xin Miao was about to be married, but because Xin Xian and wife returned to the capital, she escaped a calamity. At that time, Xin Yu was also eavesdropping on Xin Roqiu's conversation with the servants and knew that Rinwan Yun had the idea of exchanging marriage for Xin Qing and Xin Miao. Chapter 610. Since Xin Qing and Xin Miao could exchange marriage, then why could she not? Xin Yu's heart became excited, and a thought from a long time ago gradually surfaced in her mind. Her gaze turned to Xin Dongling, who was beside her. As for the candidate, wasn't there a ready-made one in front of her? Xin Dongling was a Shu daughter, and Xin Dongling felt that the gentleman of the Wang family was very good. Shun Dongling's character was weak and easily deceived. There was no one more suitable than Shun Dongling in front of her. Xinyu looked at Shun Dongling and suddenly grabbed Shun Dongling's hand and said softly, "Third younger sister, how do you think I treat you?" Shun Dongling was surprised for a moment before lowering her head and said with some shame, "Second older sister did not despise my birth and treated me very well. In the entire Shin residence, only second older sister was willing to talk to me." Xinyu had always put on a noble and generous appearance, and even if she looked down on Shin Dongling in her heart, she would not show it at all on her face. Instead, she looked like she treated Shin Dongling well, especially after the last time. Xinyu would look for Shin Dongling every 3 to 5 days to talk. From an outsider's point of view, the relationship between these two was not bad. Hearing that, Xinyu smiled and said, "Then third younger sister, now that I am in trouble, are you willing to help me with something?" Shin Dongling smiled without any scheming. "No problem. As long as I can do it, I will definitely do my best for second older sister." Xinyu smiled. "Hearing your words, I am relieved." She held Shin Dongling's hand tighter. Can you help me marry to Wang Bai?" Upon hearing these words, Shin Dongling was stunned. After being stunned for a moment, she wanted to pull her hand back from Xinyu's and said in a panic, "This cannot be done. Second older sister, I can help you with other matters. I am also unable to help with this matter." "You can." Xinyu did not let go and said anxiously, "Don't you also feel that Gentleman Wang is very good? Didn't you say that if you were to get this marriage, your yin yang would also be happy for it?" "Third younger sister, I beg you." "Be that as it may." Shin Dongling kept retreating, "But this is too risky. If it is discovered, I will be beaten to death, and second older sister, you will also be punished. This is too risky. Second sister, you don't have to take such a big risk. Why can't you marry young Master Wang?" Xinyu looked at Shin Dongling, and 2 lines of tears immediately flowed down. She was born to be gentle and delicate, so her tears actually made people feel a little sad. And Xinyu's voice was filled with despair as she said, "Third younger sister, A is honey and B is arsenic. To you it is a good marriage, but to me it is not. I already have someone I like, and I've decided that I won't marry anyone else but him. If I can't marry him and have to marry someone else, it will be a dead end for me. I will definitely end my own life on that day." Xinyu looked at Shin Dongling for a while, and suddenly stood up and knelt down towards Shin Dongling with a plop sound. She said, "If you do not agree, then it means to end my life. Third younger sister, on the account that we are sisters and on the account that only I treat you well in the entire Shin residence, I beg you to save my life." The moment Shin Dongling saw Xinyu kneeling down, she was stunned, and upon hearing Xinyu's words, she was so flustered that she did not know what to do. She pulled Xinyu up and said, "Second older sister, don't be like this. Don't scare me." Xinyu pulled Shin Dongling's hands. "Third younger sister, second older sister will beg you this time. Could it be that you want to see me become a skeleton this time?" Shin Dongling bit her lips as she looked at her. Xinyu's hair was disheveled, and her eyes were hazy with tears. She was really forced to a desperate situation, and under her helplessness, she could only reluctantly nod her head and said, "I promise you. Second older sister, get up first." Chapter 611. Xinyu's eyes brightened as she rushed up to hug Shin Dongling and hurriedly thanked her, as if she was really grateful to the bones. However, with her back facing Shin Dongling, there was a somewhat proud smile on her face. "It is just that, second older sister, it is better to discuss this matter at length," Shin Dongling said. "After all, the matter of exchanging the marriage is not a small matter, and once the matter is exposed, we will not be able to gain any benefits. Moreover, third Shu and third Shun will definitely see it. Thus it is better to discuss it in detail." Xinyu let go of Shin Dongling and said excitedly, "That is natural." She looked at Shin Dongling, held Shin Dongling's hand and said, "Don't worry, third sister. Since you did this for me, I will definitely explain it clearly. I force you to do this. I won't let father and mother blame you. I won't let you be implicated in the slightest." Shin Dongling smiled, and, "I believe in second older sister." The night was as dark as ink, and when Xin Dongling returned to her own bedroom in Kaiyun Yuan, Wan Yinyang was already asleep. Xin Dongling sneaked out behind Wan Yinyang's back, and Wan Yinyang thought that Xin Dongling had already rested. Xin Dongling's maid, Xinghua, asked, "Young lady really want to help second young lady marry?" "Marry? Why not marry?" Xin Dongling looked at Xinghua as she closed the door and sat on the couch. She picked up the teacup in front of her and leisurely took a sip before revealing a completely different smile. She said, "The Wang family is an official family, and Wang Bai's future official career is boundless and the inner courtyard is peaceful. Based on my background, it is impossible for me to marry into the Wang family in this lifetime. Since there is such an opportunity, one would be a fool not to grasp it firmly." In that case, Xinghua smiled. "Second young lady can be considered to have done a good deed." "Good deed?" Xin Dongling's smile was somewhat sarcastic. "Could it be that you think that in this Xin residence, there is really someone who is as kind as a fairy?" The maid was surprised for a moment and was somewhat puzzled. "Young lady's meaning is, I will spare no effort to help her, but you need to know that once the exchange of marriage is exposed, the first thing that Xinyu would do is to splash the dirty water onto me. It must be me who thought of ways to snatch her marriage, and she, Xinyu, would feel wronged. Even if the second branch knew the reason, in order to prevent the Wang clan from becoming enemies with them, they would still blame me. As for old foreign, Xin Dongling sneered. A Shu daughter is naturally not as important as a D daughter in her eyes. No matter what, I'm the one to be sacrificed. A look of disbelief rose on Xinghua's face as she said, "But previously second young lady said that she will clarify for young lady and will not let young lady bear the blame for nothing. Is Xinyu such a kind-hearted person?" Xin Dongling shook her head and smiled. "Everyone in this residence is selfish. What makes you think that Xinyu is such a selfless person? If she was really so selfless, she wouldn't have asked me to marry someone for her." Since that is the case, Xinghua asked, "Does young lady still want a substitute in marriage? What should we do if all the dirty water is poured onto Miss?" Shun Dongling smiled indifferently. "Don't worry. Since I can marry her, I must have made full preparations." Xinghua, you must remember that everyone in this Shin residence are all jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards. If one wants to do something, it is better to do it yourself than to beg others. Just like fifth younger sister, she has done very well. So once there is a chance to leave the Shun residence, I will not be reluctant." Xinghua nodded her head as if she understood something and suddenly thought of something before asking, "Do you want to tell Yinyang about this matter?" "No need." Xin Dongling flatly refused. "Yinyang is timid and will definitely not agree to me marrying Xinyu. After the matter is done, then explain it to her." Chapter 612. Only then did Xinghua withdraw. Coincidentally, in the Shin residence's Chiu Shui Yuan, there were also people talking about Shun Yu's marriage. Yuer had not eaten for the entire day, and her body cannot take it. The one who spoke was Xinwan. He also doted on Xin Yu for so many years, and if it was not for Xun Yu always thinking about people that she should not think about, Xinwan would not have punished her like this. She would not eat the things that I sent people to send over. Chun Rochio sighed. Thus let third older sister send it over to her. Most likely she has eaten it now. Third older sister? Xinwan frowned. When did you ever get so close with her? In Xinwan's eyes, Xin Dongling was after all a Shu daughter, and it was a loss of status for Xin Yu to be on good terms with Xin Dongling. Thus he was not very happy when he heard it. Chen Rochio smiled. It got better a few days ago. Originally, there was eldest sister who talked to Yuer in the residence, but after that eldest sister passed away, there are no other sisters in the residence. Yuer is rather lonely on normal days, and I see that third older sister is an honest one. Yuer like her, then let them play together. It is not worth anything. Xinwan did not speak anymore, and only heard Chun Rochio speaking again. It is just that I am worried that if Yuer continues to make a fuss like this, what if she still makes a fuss on the day of marriage? Just lock her up for a few days. You are her mother, and at that time speak some soft words to Yuer. Xinwan said, if it really cannot be done, and if she still makes a fuss on the day of marriage, then think of something. Chun Rochio's heart jumped when she heard it. Shinwan had always been gentle in front of her, and there was rarely a time when he was this tough. Chun Rochio was after all a female, and could hear a trace of impatience in Shun Wan's words. She thought of the matter of old Shun for infrequently bringing in concubines for Shun Wan, and felt somewhat uneasy. She then hugged Shun Wan's waist from behind and said, "After your gets married, Master and this concubine can relax for a few days." These days it seems that Master is not happy with the official matters and did not speak to this concubine at all, making this concubine feel uneasy. Even though Chun Rochio was not young, but because she had taken good care of herself and understood what a man was thinking in his heart, Shinwan usually fell for it when she acted coquettishly. Who knew that today? Shunwan only patted her hand and said with a smile, "Let's wait until your marriage is over." In the end, his tone was a little perfunctory. Chun Rochio's heart gradually sank, and the hand that was hugging Shun Wan's waist also slowly tightened. Shun Miao received Pei Lang's letter. Under the light of the lamp, Shun Miao finished reading the letter. In the letter, it said that Fu Xiao seemed to have discovered that there were some clues between Shun Miao and Prince Rui, and in order to probe, he deliberately brought up Princess Ming An's matter to Shun Miao in front of the Crown Prince of Qin, in order to probe the relationship between Shun Miao and Prince Rui. In the future, if Huang Fu Hao were to take action against Shun Miao, one would be able to see the clues from Prince Rui's actions. Shun Miao did not expect that Fu Xiao would think of this so quickly. After thinking about it, she felt relieved. After being husband and wife with Fu Xiao for so many years, it was not the first time that Fu Xiao was good at finding evidence from the clues. Moreover, if Fu Xiao was really unable to find anything and was so incompetent, he would not have stood at the end in the fight for the heir apparent. But Shun Miao herself was not that worried, because Huang Fu Hao's character was not impulsive, and moreover it involved the Shin family. So Huang Fu Hao would not easily make a move. At least he would have to investigate it properly. At the end of the letter, it said that if Shun Miao really had a friendship with Prince Rui of the Great Liang, and if she encountered any trouble, she could seek help from Prince Rui of the Great Liang. There were many capable people under Prince Rui of the Great Liang, and there would be less trouble when doing things. Shun Miao felt that the last paragraph was somewhat inexplicable. There was no connection between Pei Lang and Xie Jingxing, and the most important thing was that with Pei Lang's cautious character, it was somewhat strange for him to say that he would seek help from others. But this was indeed Pei Lang's letter without a doubt. Shun Miao thought about it and could not think of anything else, so she did not take these words seriously. She threw the letter into the fire of the stove, and when the fire licked the letter, it instantly turned into ashes. Chapter 613. There was a large red wooden scroll on the table. That was an invitation sent from the Shin residence. Shin Yu was going to marry the young master of the Minister of Land, Wang Bai. One did not know what the people of the Shan residence were thinking that they would send this invitation to the Shin mansion. Shin Xian and Luo Shui Yin only took a look and did not bother about it. So naturally Shin Miao would not take the initiative to go over. But Shin Miao did not think that Shin Yu would eventually marry Wang Bai. In the previous lifetime, Shin Yu's obsession with Fu Xiao was so deep that she did not hesitate to endure for so many years. In this lifetime, for Shin Yu to marry, how could Shin Yu be willing? As she was thinking, she heard someone knocking on the window. When she looked back, Xie Jingxing had already arrived uninvited. He lazily looked at the red scroll in Shin Miao's hands and raised his eyebrows. "You want to go?" It seemed that Xie Jingxing also knew about the marriage between Shin Yu and Wang Bai. It should not be fake. When Chun Rochio and Shun Wan do things, they would definitely do a full set. In order to prove that their daughter was also very precious, there would definitely be a big banquet with Ming Qi's guests. In addition, the Minister of Land was acquainted with many officials, and many officials were on good terms with him. Thus, it was appropriate to send more red scrolls. Perhaps the entire Ding capital knew about it now. Not going, Shin Miao casually threw the red scroll on the table. Xie Jingxing seemed to have expected that she would say that, and his figure flashed and entered the room. Shen Miao sat down in front of the table, and Xie Jingxing stood at the side with his arms crossed. Shen Yu was locked up in the ancestral hall, and Shen Dongling just went over to take a look. Shen Miao looked at Xie Jingxing with some surprise and hesitated for a moment before asking, "You even went to the Shen residence?" Xie Jingxing was a dignified Prince Rue of the Great Liang. How could he do all these uninvited thief things? It was fine to frequently stroll around the Shen mansion, but to actually secretly peep at the movements of the people in the Shen residence. Xie Jingxing choked on Shen Miao's words. Of course it was not me who went. Shen Miao understood that most likely it was Xie Jingxing who sent his subordinates, but she felt that it was somewhat strange in her heart. The people in the Shen residence did not have the slightest bit of relationship with Xie Jingxing, so why did Xie Jingxing let people monitor the movements in the Shen residence? Could it be for her? Shen Yu's marriage. You are not happy? Xie Jingxing asked. The people in the Shen residence have nothing to do with me. Could it be that I should be happy for her? Shen Miao said, "Moreover, whether the marriage is successful or not is another matter. What is there to be happy about?" Xie Jingxing's lips hooked up and sat opposite Shen Miao before looking at her. "You seem to understand it very well. You specially came over to tell me that Shen Dongling and Shen Yu are together. Is it not to tell me about this matter?" Shen Miao smiled without a care. Shen Dongling and Shen Yu will eventually exchange marriage. Fortunately, Shen Yu found Shen Dongling. One think that with Shen Dongling around, there would not be any mistakes in this marriage exchange. In the Shen residence, Shen Miao did not know what role Shen Dongling played, and in the last lifetime, Shen Miao did not pay much attention to this Shu younger sister. Ever since his rebirth, he had seen many things clearly. Shen Dongling was actually very similar to a person. Shen Dongling was very similar to Fu Xiao Yi. They both had a kind of endurance skill. Shen Dongling had endured for so many years, and now, when Shen Dongling was mentioned in the Shen residence, everyone would feel that she was a Shu daughter who had no special characteristics and her temperament seemed to be very good. Then it was such a person who was able to live till now safe and sound under Run Wan Yun's checks and balances. From the looks of it, in the entire second household, it seemed that only Shen Dongling and Wan Yinyang were the winners. Shen Miao did not dare to underestimate such a person. Xie Jingxing smiled. "How do you know about the exchange of marriage?" "Because Shen Yu is not willing." Shen Miao said, "Shen Yu is not willing to marry Wang Bai, but unfortunately Chen Roqiu and Shen Wangang have already exchanged and the marriage was already set. For a person like Shen Yu, this is a forced marriage." Shen Yu had always been proud and arrogant, and after so many years, everything went smoothly. How could she accept such an arrangement? It is not entirely a coincidence that Shen Dongling appeared here. Most likely one has the intention to escape and the other has the intention to replace, so it is a very good deal. Xie Jingxing listened to Shen Miao's words, and there was a lazy smile on his face. He seemed to like listening to Shen Miao's analysis of the opponent, and felt that Shen Miao's serious look was somewhat interesting. He said, "Forced marriage? Wang Bai is enough to match Shen Yu. Unfortunately, he is not Shen Yu's sweetheart." Shen Miao smiled slightly. Shen Yu is such a stubborn person and would not change her original intention. In order to marry her sweetheart, in order not to be forced to marry, she would always think of ways. "Then what about you?" Xie Jingxing suddenly asked. Shen Miao frowned. Xie Jingxing casually said, "If one day you are also forced to marry, what would you do?" Chapter 614. If there is a day when you are also forced to marry, what would you do? Shen Miao was slightly startled. She was forced to marry? In the previous lifetime, she was forced to marry, but it was she who took the initiative to marry Fu Xiaoyi. She was the one who was forced to marry. She had never thought of being forced to marry. At this moment when Xie Jingxing asked, Shen Miao thought of something. Following the Shen family's return to the Ding capital, not to mention that Emperor Wen Hui had returned the military power of the Shen family's army to Shen Exine, even the Luo family's army in the faraway Shaochun city was not the same army that was in dire straits. Not only did the first household of the Shen family not decline, as everyone had expected because they were far away from the Ding capital, but their strength became even stronger. The Shin family was like a big piece of fat meat. In the fight for the heir apparent, whoever was tied to the Shin family would have the winning chip. How to tie them together? In a large aristocratic family, marriage was the right way. Shin Xiu's and Shin Miao's marriage had become a channel for everyone to climb up to the Shin family. The only difference was that Shin Xiu was a male and could wait for some time, but Shin Miao was a female, and if it was delayed for a long time, a female's youth would fade like a flower, and it would be inevitable to be pointed out by others. If there was a day when she also became a chip in the fight for the heir apparent and was fought over and forced to marry, what would happen? Xie Jingxing stared at her, and his eyes were as sharp as a blade. There will not be such a day. Shin Miao said, if there is, what will you do? Xie Jingxing did not let her go and persistently asked Shin Miao this question. Shin Miao carefully thought about it and said, then fight. If one is able to fight, one would naturally think of ways to let him know the difficulties and retreat. If one is unable to fight, then there is no harm in marrying over. Xie Jingxing raised his eyebrows. No harm. One must at least live. Shin Miao lightly said, after marrying over, then think of ways to retaliate. There are many helpless things in the world, and I cannot be like a strong female and die with a piece of white silk. It is better to keep one's life, and there would be a chance to turn things around. The previous life's experience in the palace made Shin Miao understand that death was the most hopeless thing. Once he died, it would mean that everything had been settled, and there would be no more room for change. She often thought that if she did not die like that in the previous life, she would have fought with Mei Foreign in the palace for another few decades, and it would be unknown who would be the winner. Perhaps she would still lose, but perhaps she would also win. She would help the entire first household of the Shin family, and help Wan Yu and Fu Ming to get back this debt of life. In any case, life would not pass in vain. Xie Jingxing stared at Shin Miao. She was like a plant full of vitality, a weed that grew in the cold winter. Even in the harshest environment, she would never lose hope. Even if he was in the most disadvantageous position, he could still climb to the position he wanted little by little. Her purpose was clear, but it was also mysterious. She did not look like a 16-year-old girl. Xie Jingxing smiled faintly. You are like the Shin family. Shin Miao did not speak and only heard Xie Jingxing speaking again. I will make a trip out of the city these few days. Be careful yourself. If there are any problems, go to Fengxian Pawn Shop to look for Ji Yushu. Gao Yang is my people, so you can trust him. Shin Miao was stunned for a moment. Because of the previous lifetime's experience, Shin Miao naturally knew that Gao Yang was Xie Jingxing's people, and could even be said to be Xie Jingxing's confidant. But even though she knew, Shin Miao had never revealed it. Even when Luo Tan was saved by Gao Yang that day, it was under Xie Jingxing's orders, and Shin Miao only pretended not to know. She knew that some things had a bottom line. Even if Xie Jingxing did not have any enmity towards her, it did not mean that a person was willing to let another person know all the ins and outs. But now Xie Jingxing took the initiative to tell her that Gao Yang was his people. This was really treating Shin Miao as his own people. Chapter 615. Just because they were allies on the surface, they could treat each other with sincerity? What made Xie Jingxing think that she would not betray him? Shin Miao was thinking like this, but it was not noticed by Xie Jingxing as he said, Huangfu, how might find trouble with you? Things that you cannot solve yourself, just hand it over to Gao Yang. Shin Miao inexplicably had a strange feeling. This appearance, it was like a husband telling his wife to pay attention to something before leaving. Shin Miao jumped in shock at her own thoughts and said in a somewhat flustered manner, Understood. Xie Jingxing was somewhat baffled by Shin Miao's sudden fluster, but did not say anything more and mentioned a few more things to pay attention to before leaving. After Xie Jingxing left, Shin Miao sat under the lamp and inexplicably felt that her cheeks were somewhat hot. Every time she spoke to Xie Jingxing these few days, she always felt that something was not right. Shin Miao thought that she must let Guyu drink some refreshing heart tea tomorrow, so that her imagination would not run wild all day. When Xie Jingxing left the Shin mansion and returned to the residence of Prince Rui, he coincidentally saw that Gao Yang and Ji Yushu were also there. Ji Yushu was feeding the white tiger. Xie Jingxing glanced at him and said unhappily, "Do not feed anymore. Jiao Jiao likes to eat." Ji Yushu said. The veins on Xie Jingxing's forehead throbbed. "Do not call its name." Ji Yushu immediately felt wronged as he stood up and silently retreated to the side. Gao Yang was however used to it, and Xie Jingxing pampered this white tiger very much, but only Ji Yushu dared to tease the tiger all day long. A beautiful and majestic white tiger was now fed into a meatball. Anyone would feel heartache when they saw it. He walked over to Xie Jingxing's side and asked, "Everything is prepared. Depart tomorrow." Xie Jingxing looked at him. "During this period of time, pay more attention in the Ding capital." Gao Yang looked at him. "Do not worry. I will definitely help you to pay attention to fifth Shin young lady. Do not pay too much attention," Xie Jingxing said lightly. Gao Yang wanted to vomit blood. Xie Jingxing was just too temperamental. Just take yesterday as an example. Pei Lang wrote a letter to Xin Miao, and the main idea was to warn Xin Miao to be wary of Huangfu, Hao, and Fu Xiao Yi, and finally to remind Xin Miao to stay away from Xie Jingxing. Xie Jingxing let Gao Yang copy a letter. Gao Yang was a disciple of a master of calligraphy and painting, and it was the first time he did this kind of copying business and made a counterfeit letter. What was even more amazing was that Xie Jingxing erased the last sentence of the reminder and made Gao Yang add some groundless words, and only said that if there was any trouble, he could look for Prince Rue for help. Although he already knew that the person he was assisting was a black-hearted master, this time, Gao Yang clearly had a new understanding of Xie Jingxing's shamelessness. "I got it." Gao Yang waved his fan and said, "In other words, if she causes trouble, I'll bring up the rear, and if she kills, I'll hand over the knife, right? It is not that troublesome." Xie Jingxing's lips hooked up. She is currently very busy with the Shun family's marriage and could not care about killing. Ever since that night, Xie Jingxing did not appear again. Xin Miao knew that it was impossible for Prince Rue of the Great Liang to stay in the Ding capital and do nothing. If one were to say that Huangfu Hao stayed till now, one was to investigate the cause of Princess Ming Yan's death, and the other was to form an alliance with Ming Qi, then Xie Jingxing's stay was meaningless. He must have other plans and schemes. Time passed by very quickly, and very soon it was the day of Shun Yu's marriage. The 8th of the 12th lunar month was an auspicious day, with favorable timing, geographical, and social conditions. The eldest gentleman of the Minister of Land was going to marry, and he was marrying the second young lady of the Shin residence, Xin Yu. Even though it was because of the separation of the first household of the Shin family 2 years ago, and the matter of Xin Yuan and Xin Ge, the Shin family was not as good as before. But the Minister of Land had a wide range of friends in the court, and in addition, Xin Yu's reputation as a talented female had spread throughout the Ding capital, so this marriage was considered lively. Xin Yu was after all a proper D daughter. Xin Wan rather cherished his reputation, and Wang Bai was knowledgeable, so outsiders would say that they were a perfect match. Chapter 616. And in the Shin residence, Xin Yu had already dressed up, but had chased everyone out, leaving only Shen Dongling alone. If one were to look carefully, one would see that Shen Dongling had also dressed up meticulously. Shen Dongling was originally a beauty, but it was covered up because she did not go out often. Today she was dressed up as a newly married bride and looked even more beautiful. It was just that Xin Yu did not have the mood to appreciate or be jealous. When she saw Shen Dongling coming over, she said, quickly change clothes with me." The previous matron of honor and Chen Roqiu had already left. These days, on the surface, Shun Yu seemed to have gradually accepted this marriage under Chen Roqiu's suppression and did not reject it. But in fact, she was secretly plotting with Shen Dongling on how to exchange the marriage. The more she interacted with Shen Dongling, the more Xin Yu felt that Shen Dongling was easy to deceive and was even more stupid than the previous Xin Miao. Shen Dongling was flustered as she changed her clothes and said softly, "Second older sister, I am very afraid." "Do not be afraid." Xin Yu was afraid that Shen Dongling would go back on her words at this critical juncture and comforted her. "Do not worry. Tomorrow I will explain to father and mother that this matter was started by me alone and you will not be implicated. After today, You will be the rightful young foreign of the Minister of Land's family, and no one would dare to look down on you. Shen Yu used the matter of identity to tempt Shen Dongling, and as expected, Shen Dongling's fear faded a little, and her face blushed. She could not help but secretly despise her in her heart. If it was not as a last resort, she would not be willing to let Shen Dongling live so well for no reason. It was just that now, as a last resort, she treated it as giving Shen Dongling the title of a foreign out of charity. Just as she finished dressing, she heard the sound of people walking outside. Shen Yu quickly hid behind the screen in the room, and Shen Dongling also quickly covered her head with the veil. Shen Yu's maid walked in from outside, and because there were no other sisters in the Shen family, the maid helped her out. Shen Dongling used the excuse of helping in the kitchen and had long disappeared, and everyone did not take it to heart. Chen Roqiu originally wanted to speak a few words with Shen Yu before boarding the sedan, but saw that Shen Yu was being supported by the maid and walked towards the sedan without even turning her head towards Chen Roqiu. When Chen Roqiu saw it, her heart was somewhat sad as she thought that Shen Yu was still blaming her because of the marriage, but there was nothing she could do. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, she was afraid that there would be more twists and turns, so she followed the instructions of the matron of honor. The palanquin rattled as it walked further away, about to be carried to the minister-counselor's residence. Chen Roqiu also needed to pack up and follow to the residence of the Minister of Land when coincidentally Chang Ziqing walked over. Perhaps it was because of the wedding atmosphere today. Song Ziqing was also wearing a light peach-colored cotton embroidered dress. Because she always wore refreshing colors such as cyan and black, it was rare for her to wear such a gorgeous outfit, which made her look quite charming. Song Ziqing smiled. If second young lady marries out, there will be a good future. When Chen Roqiu saw Song Ziqing, she then remembered that she had not seen Song Ziqing for a long time. Ever since the last time she spoke to Song Ziqing, one did not know what Song Ziqing was busy with, and she was also concerned about Shen Yu's marriage, thus she did not go over to speak to Song Ziqing. At this moment, seeing Song Ziqing's flowing brows, it was much more colorful than before. Her heart moved, and she smiled. Does younger sister Qing still go to eldest Saw's residence these days? Song Ziqing smiled and shook her head. Not often. Eldest foreign and the general are very busy and do not have much time to chat. Chen Roqiu was certain that Song Ziqing was lying and thought that she was shy, so she patted her hands. Younger sister Qing is so likable. One would definitely find time to talk to you. Chen Roqiu thought that after Shen Yu's matter was over, she would ask Song Ziqing about the progress at this end. Shen Yu had no choice but to marry into the Wang family. Even though the Wang family was not bad, but thinking that her daughter could not marry her sweetheart and even had a rift with herself, Chen Roqiu's heart was blocked. On the contrary, Shen Miao was now the most popular person in the Ding capital. Initially, a few days ago, one thought that Shen Miao would have a miserable ending after being kidnapped, but one did not think that Shen Miao would come back in one piece, and because of Princess Rong Xian's intervention, even the rumors were destroyed. Looking at the entire Ding capital, if Shen Miao wanted to marry a prince, it was possible. Once she thought that the thing that her daughter yearned for was easily obtained by Shen Miao, Chen Roqiu was very unreconciled. Thinking that Luo Shuiyan, that kind of vulgar female, could actually have a child, Chen Roqiu could not wait to destroy her. Chapter 6:17. She took a look at Chang Ziqing in front of her. Chang Ziqing had already gained Luo Shuiyan's favor, and now it seemed that she was getting along well with Shen Xian. As long as after a few days, Chang Ziqing would think of a way to enter the Shen mansion. Then Luo Shuiyan's and Shen Miao's days in the future would not be easy. Most likely one would not be able to see others doing well, especially when one was not doing well. This was what Chen Roqiu was thinking now. She could not wait to see Luo Shuiyan crying bitterly, and in a moment she looked at Chang Ziqing more cordially. She pulled Chang Ziqing's hands and smiled. Let's go. Younger sister will also follow me to the residence of the Minister of Land. I often told you her to learn from your bearing, but one did not think that she would marry before she even started learning. It is a pity. Chang Ziqing followed up with a smile. It is second young lady's good luck to have a husband to dote on after marriage. You really know how to speak. Chinrochio smiled. One's heart is already warmed up. She looked at the five-colored sachet at Chang Ziqing's waist and said, "This sachet is very unique." Chang Ziqing took down the sachet and handed it to Chinrochio. "If foreign likes it, then gift it to foreign." Chinrochio had always liked some exquisite things, and seeing that the embroidery of the sachet was indeed exquisite, she could not bear to part with it, and did not decline. She placed it under her nose and sniffed it gently before saying in surprise, "This smell is very good. One do not know what fragrance is it?" Chang Ziqing smiled gently. "I do not know about fragrance but do know about tea." Thus one casually mixed some tea leaves and placed it inside, thinking that it can lift one's spirit when one is tired. One have let foreign laugh at it. Younger sister is clever and dexterous. How would I dare to laugh at it? Chinrochio accepted the sachet and smiled, like it very much. Both of them chatted and laughed as they walked out. Xin Yu's and Wang Bai's marriage was undoubtedly a pleasant surprise in the previously quiet Ding capital. One did not know what the Wang family was thinking, but in order to highlight the importance of this marriage, they actually carried the bridal sedan and strolled around the entire Ding capital. Coincidentally, they strolled to the bottom of the Feng Xian pawn shop. Upstairs, Ji Yushu was eating pastries and said as he ate, "The Wang family's marriage is quite lively." Opposite him, Gao Yang gently waved his fan and glanced downstairs. The sounds of gongs and drums shook the sky. He closed the window in disdain and said, "The bride has already been changed. What's the point of being so lively? It's just a farce. I'm quite interested in this play. It is best to cause trouble for 3 days and 3 nights." Ji Yushu had the temperament of wishing for the world to be in chaos and did not mind the matter getting bigger and bigger. He said, "Speaking of which, is there no movement from young lady Xin?" Before Xie Jingxing left, he wanted Gao Yang to look after Xin Miao, and if Xin Miao wanted to do anything, he must think of ways to help. After knowing Xin Miao for 2 years, Ji Yushu could be considered to have more or less grasped Xin Miao's temper. She looked gentle and amiable, but in fact it was not to be trifled with. The Xin family was originally heartless towards the first household, and seeing such a farce, if Xin Miao did not throw stones at them when they were down, it would not be justifiable. Gao Yang sneered. "Not now, but there will definitely be in the future." Ji Yushu wiped his mouth. "Actually, you do not need to have such a big prejudice against young Lady Xin. Young Lady Xin's character is still very good and is very generous. She also looks very good, so why do you always be so calculative with her? Moreover, the Xin family did not give you any trouble." "No trouble?" Upon mentioning this, Gao Yang felt his chest was stuffy. Xin Miao was unworthy to say that Xie Jingxing's temperamental appearance made the people around him to be unlucky. Even Xin Miao's Biao older sister was not easy to deal with. Gao Yang had never seen such a patient who could toss and turn. She was unmoved by force or persuasion and always felt that he was on the same level as the physician in the medical hall. Gao Yang was a young and promising official in the Great Liang and was an imperial physician in Mingqi. But when he came to Luotan, he became a barefooted physician. Thus Gao Yang was not very happy. Chapter 6:18. Ji Yushu did not notice Gao Yang's expression and tidied up his clothes before saying leisurely, "No matter what, just wait for a good show tomorrow. The bigger the commotion, the better, so that when third older brother returns, he would not feel bored." For the Wang family's marriage, no one from the first household of the Shun family was present. Actually, one had sent an invitation to the Shun mansion, so no matter what, one had to take into account their face. But Shin Xian was not a hypocritical person, and the things that the Shun family did made Luo Shuiyin extremely disgusted. Thus she did not receive the invitation, much less send a gift. Some of the people who were watching the development of the situation clearly understood the attitude of the first household of the Shin family. It seemed that they had really decided to cut off all relations with the Shun family, and there would not be any leeway. No matter what, the marriage was done. Early in the morning the next day, Wan Yinyang woke up. Yesterday, when Shen Yu got married, Shen Dongling helped out, and one did not see her figure for the entire day. Afterwards, when they returned to the residence, the maid said that Shen Dongling was too tired and fell asleep. Thus, Wan Yinyang did not disturb her. Today, she specially made a sweet jadeite soup so that Shen Dongling could nourish her body. Thus, she stood outside Shen Dongling's boudoir and knocked on the door. No one answered in the room, so Wan Yinyang said, "Dongling, Yinyang has entered." Finishing speaking, she pushed the door open. One saw a person lying on Shen Dongling's bed and covered with a quilt. When she heard the commotion, she suddenly sat up. Wan Yinyang was first startled before a look of disbelief appeared on her face. She cried out involuntarily, "Second young lady, why are you here?" The person lying on Shen Dongling's bed was not someone else, but Shen Yu. And Shen Yu had obviously married into the residence of the Minister of Land yesterday, which meant that Shen Yu should not be in the Shen residence, but in the residence of the Minister of Land. Why would she appear on Shen Dongling's bed without rhyme or reason? Wan Yinyang looked around again and did not see Shen Dongling's figure. Even though she was not considered smart normally, at this moment she also vaguely understood something. She asked in a trembling voice, "Second young lady, Dongling, Dongling? Where did Dongling go?" Shen Yu quickly lowered her head and rolled her eyes. When she raised her head again, her face was already filled with tears. The moment Wan Yinyang saw Shen Yu's tears, she felt her vision turning black and only heard Shen Yu sobbing. "Do not know. I also do not know. Third younger sister came over to toast with me, and then, I don't know anything else." The Shen residence exploded into an uproar. In Rongjing Tang, everyone stood together. Old Shen Foreign was so angry that her mouth was crooked as she looked at Wan Yinyang and said angrily, "A good daughter that you have taught." Shen Gui stood at one side and originally wanted to say something. Now Wan Yinyang was the only woman that gave birth to a child for him, and Wan Yinyang was usually considered gentle and well-behaved, so even though Shen Gui was a playboy, he still had some affection for Wan Yinyang. But when he saw the angry expressions of his third brother and third sister-in-law, he swallowed his request. Shen Dongling actually schemed against Shen Yu and helped Shen Yu to marry. Now Shen Yu was left in the Shen residence, and Shen Dongling was married to the Minister of Land's family. If it was anyone else, they would not be happy. Shen Gui himself also did not think that the usually well-behaved and timid Shen Dongling would have such big guts to exchange the marriage. Shen Gui would never offend his third brother for a daughter, even if that was his only bloodline. Wan Yinyang cried as she kowtowed to old Shen Foreign and said as she kowtowed, "Old Foreign is wise. Third young lady is usually timid, so how would she have such big guts to exchange the marriage? Old Foreign, could it be that there is some misunderstanding? Even if third young lady had 10,000 guts, third young lady would definitely not dare to do such a treacherous thing." "Do your words mean that you wearer slandered third lady?" Chen Rochio's face was livid. These words can really hit the heart Wan Yinyang. Chapter 619. No matter how old Shen Foreign usually did not like Shen Rochio, she did not even have much feelings for Shen Yu. But Shen Yu was after all the granddaughter of the Shen family, and for a Shu granddaughter to snatch her marriage, it would not be good to hear. She immediately followed Chen Rochio's words. What kind of mother will have what kind of daughter? What a shameful thing. Wan Yinyang cried as she looked at Shen Yu. "Second young lady, wasn't your relationship with third young lady very good previously? You also speak up for third young lady. Third young lady is not that kind of person, right?" Wan Yinyang did not believe that Shen Dongling would do such a thing. Since young, Shen Dongling had her own ideas, and many times when Wan Yinyang did not understand, Shen Dongling would even point it out to Wan Yinyang. Wan Yinyang had always thought that the daughter that crawled out of her womb would not be worse than any of the daughters in the Shen residence unless there was a problem with her identity. Shen Dongling looked timid on the outside, but she always did things with great planning. Even though she previously heard from Shen Dongling that Shen Yu's marriage was an opportunity, but Wan Yinyang had never thought that it would be such a situation. Wan Yinyang believed that as long as Shen Dongling was not stupid, she would not use such a crude method to exchange marriage. After all, In this way, Shen Dongling would not have a foothold in the Wang family or the Shun family. Originally, she was hoping that the cultured Shun Yu would say 1 or 2 words for Shen Dongling, but she did not expect that Shen Yu's face would change faster than flipping a book. Upon hearing Wan Yinyang speak, Shen Yu cried, "Wan Yinyang, I really do not know what is going on." Third Mimi said, "I was leaving the mansion. Since we are sisters, she toasted me a cup of wine before leaving, and I drank it. When I woke up, it was already the next morning. I also believe that third younger sister didn't do it on purpose, but I really don't know how she became like this." On the surface, Shen Yu's words were saying that she believed Shen Dongling, but her words were saying that she was schemed by Shen Dongling, which was undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire. As expected, when Shen Roqiu and Shen Wan heard this, their expressions became even more gloomy. Shen Gue also frowned, and when Wan Yinyang saw everyone standing on Shen Yu's side, a trace of despair flashed in her heart. The urgent matter is to first think of how to solve it, Chang Zaiqing said softly. She was not a person of the Shen Fu, and it was not good to comment on the previous words. At this moment, it reminded everyone that the bride had changed, so how could they explain to the Wang family? Send Shen Dongling back? Or should he simply send Shen Dongling to live on the farm for the rest of her life? In any case, Shen Dongling was just a concubine's daughter, so it would be easy to get rid of her. The most important thing was to not make the Wang clan unhappy. Old Shen Furen made a prompt decision. First go and discuss this matter with the Wang family, and let people send third girl back. Needless to say, lock Wan Yinyang in the woodshed. The things that she gave birth to do wrong. As the mother, she deserves to be taught a lesson. When Shen Yu heard it, she became anxious instead. She did not expect that Shen Dongling would be sent back. If Shen Dongling was sent back, then wouldn't she be sent to the Wang family? So all these methods were all for naught? How could he do that? Chen Roqiu and Shen Wan were rather satisfied with old Shen Furen's words. Chen Roqiu glanced at Wan Yinyang, and her heart was filled with resentment. She only thought that in the future, she would definitely torture Wan Yinyang. Whether it was to be sold or to be a slave, it was after all a troublesome thing. When Wan Yinyang heard it, her eyes turned black. One had to know that if Shen Dongling was sent back, she was already married once, and Shen Dongling was a Shu daughter. The Shen family would definitely choose to protect Shen Yu and sacrifice Shen Dongling. In this way, the rest of Shen Dongling's life would be ruined. Just as she was thinking, a servant came in to report that the Minister of Land, Wang's family, had arrived. Chapter 620. Upon hearing that people from the Minister of Land, Wan Yinyang trembled as she looked outside. Although she believed that Shen Dongling wasn't the culprit, all the dirty water was splashed on Shen Dongling. If the Wang family wanted to pursue this matter, they would definitely target Shen Dongling. Wan Yinyang only had Shen Dongling as her only daughter, so how could her heart not ache? Unfortunately, her words carried little weight, and even if she wanted to save Shen Dongling from the fire and water, there was nothing she could do. Everyone looked at each other before old Shen Furen said, "Invite the Wang family in." The one who came from the Wang clan was a dark-skinned and sturdy woman, as well as a few servant girls of high status. The dark-skinned woman's face was dark to begin with. As soon as she entered the room, her face was gloomy. Her shoulders and waist were round, making her look even more frightening. It was as if they were here to denounce him. Seeing Wan Yinyang crying and falling to the ground in the Shen residence without any change in expression, everyone realized something. Old Shen Furen frowned and was about to speak when she heard that black, strong female said, "May one ask where is the residence's second household, Wan Yinyang?" Wan Yinyang's heart jumped, and the more she felt despair. Chen Roqiu, on the contrary, was relieved. If the other party wanted to take it out on Wan Yinyang, the Shen family would definitely not protect Wan Yinyang. Chen Roqiu even thought in her heart that it would be good to torture Wan Yinyang, this mother and daughter pair, to death. It was really unbearable for them to actually have crooked ideas about Shen Yu. Thinking of this, Chen Roqiu smiled and went forward It is not to Momo to say that we were also horrified by the matter in the residence yesterday. He had never expected that the third young lady would do such a disgraceful thing. It's just that my family's Yuer has been wronged in vain, and the eldest young master of the residence must be very alarmed and angry. This matter is all because of our Shun residence's improper upbringing, causing such a big scandal. One hopes that after Master and Foreign of the in-laws get angry, they will calmly think about it. I've already scolded Yuer for trusting people too easily. This is really... The black strong female ignored Chun Rochio's words and asked again with a black face. May one ask, where's the residence's Wan Yinyang? Everyone was surprised for a moment, as Chun Rochio did not expect that this old maid would dare to give her face. But in front of everyone, she still had to maintain her usual gentle and amiable appearance. In addition, this matter was the Wang family's victim, so it was not good for her to say anything. Old Shin Foreign said in a deep voice, "The one kneeling on the floor is Madame Wan." Wan Yinyang's eyes revealed a mournful expression, but that black, strong female unexpectedly reached out to help Wan Yinyang up. Not only was there no scolding or rudeness, but her attitude was somewhat respectful as she said, "Eldest young mistress, Mrs. Mother, and eldest young master, let this servant bring Wan Yinyang to stay in the residence of the Minister of Land. This servant has specially come to make this trip. I hope old madam will allow it." Once these words came out, everyone in Rongjing Tang was stunned. What was called eldest young mistress, Mr. Mother, and eldest young master, let people bring Wan Yinyang to live in the residence of the Minister of Land. Who was eldest young mistress? Who was the mother of eldest young mistress? Shindongling? The Wan family? When Chun Rochio saw the black, strong female helping Wan Yinyang up, she already faintly felt that something was not right, and when she heard those words, she almost fainted. Shin Wan's face sunk as he said, "What is the meaning of in-law?" That black, strong female was someone who liked to be clever and looked at Shun Wan's expression before saying with a puzzled look, "This servant does not really understand third Shin Master's words. Can it be said more clearly?" Shun Wan and Chen Rochio were somewhat depressed at the same time. This old maid was obviously pretending to be confused and obviously knew something, but still pretended to be stupid. Could it be that they had to say the words of exchanging the marriage? Shin Wan and Chen Rochio were unable to say it out, but old Shin Foreign did not have such concerns. She was originally not a daughter of a noble family, thus she did not know shame. She stiffened her neck and said, "In-law's words are not right. Yesterday, during the marriage, our residence's third and second young lady exchanged the marriage, and even the bride was changed. Now is the time to discuss how to solve this matter, and you, a servant, dare to act confused?" Chapter 621. When Chen Rochio and Shun Wan wanted to stop old Shin Foreign, it was already too late. Old Shin Foreign always had this kind of ability. She always felt that she was a cut above others, and everyone would fawn over her. For Shin Yu's marriage, old Shin Foreign actually did not look at the Minister of Land's family and wanted Shin Yu to marry higher, but in fact, the Wang family's status and connections in the court was far higher than what Shin Wan had. On the surface, this black and strong woman was an old woman, but without the Wang family's permission. How would she dare to speak to the Shun family like that? Old Shin Foreign scolding this old woman was clearly scolding the Wang family. The Wang family would only feel that the Shin family did not have the eyes and was bullying others. When the black and strong woman heard it, she indeed laughed, but that laughter was exceptionally ear-piercing to Chen Rochio and Shun Wan's ears. The black and strong woman was puzzled. What is old Foreign's meaning? Where did the matter of exchanging the marriage come from? Yesterday, there was an eldest young master marrying a wife, and the new bride was sensible and considerate and was liked by the entire Wang residence. Why did old Foreign say such a joke? Liked by everyone in the Wang mansion? Wan Yinyang was originally somewhat confused, but when she heard those words, her heart quivered and suddenly felt a sense of joy from being rescued from a hopeless situation. Her Dongling was extremely intelligent and had a good temperament and appearance. If she could firmly tie Wang Bai just based on yesterday night, with Wang Bai's protection, So what if Xinyu entered the door in the future? Being a concubine was better than being an ant in the temple. Moreover, Wan Yinyang believed that Xin Dongling would one day become outstanding. When Qin Roqiu heard it, she almost went crazy from anger and did not care about old Xin Foran's rude words and said to the black and strong woman, "What is the Wang family's intention? If one does not like or is angry, then just say it directly. There is no need to be so mystifying. Could it be that one really want to treat third young lady as you wear her to live?" Shen Wan slightly frowned and looked at Chen Roqiu with some surprise. Chen Roqiu's words were no better than old Xin Foran's. Unless it was a last resort, Shen Wan did not want to offend the Wang family, especially since the Xin family was at fault first. That black and strong woman turned towards Chen Roqiu and said, "Third Xin Foran's words are strange. Yesterday, eldest young master married the second young miss of the Fu. The second young miss is also very good. There has never been a third young Mississippi." Chen Roqiu was stunned on the spot. The meaning of these words was that it was true that the Wang residents recognized Shen Yu's identity, but she was Shen Dongling's person? Let Shen Dongling live with Shen Yu's identity? What kind of words were those? Chen Roqiu was going crazy. It was Shen Yu who did not dare to speak at the side, who finally heaved a sigh of relief when she heard it. All she wanted was for Shen Dongling to marry into the Wang family on her behalf, and then turn herself into the one who was framed and get rid of it cleanly. At the end, the one who was blamed was Shen Dongling, and the one who suffered was Wang Bai. Shen Yu was a free person, and perhaps she could gain sympathy. Even though Shen Yu was not satisfied that the Wang family did not make a ruckus and did not let Shen Dongling suffer a loss, but to be able to let her completely get rid of this marriage, Shen Yu was already satisfied. Shen Wan's brows furrowed tightly. The attitude of this burly woman clearly represented the attitude of the Wang clan. The Wang family now wanted Shen Dongling to live with Shen Yu's identity. Then what about Shen Yu? The Wang family were usually not such harsh people. Could it be that Shen Dongling said something to Wang Bai? Chen Roqiu sneered. "All right. Just like what you all said, the one who is married into the residence is second young lady, and I am second young lady's mother. Everything is fine, so why would one send Wan Yinyang over? Don't you find it ridiculous to send a Yinyang over?" Wan Yinyang looked at the woman with some fear. That woman, however, smiled. "It is like this." Eldest young mistress said that even though there is no blood relation with Wan Yinyang, but she was very close to Wan Yinyang. Now that she had just married into another family, she was not used to it, so she brought Wan Yinyang over for a short stay. Eldest young master felt sorry for eldest young mistress and agreed. Chapter 622. Such a reason to lie without batting an eyelid. But it was like a ruthless slap on the third household's face. Especially Shen Yu. She originally thought that after Shen Dongling married over, the Wang family would make things difficult and despise Shen Dongling in every possible way because of her marrying a Shu daughter, but did not think that Shen Dongling would actually mix around in the Wang family. To her, this was like a great irony. Didn't you not want to marry into the Wang residence? Apologies. The one that our eldest young master likes is not you. Eldest young mistress is loved and respected by others, and even without you in the Wang residence, she can still live well. Shen Yu gritted her teeth and was somewhat unreconciled. Originally, she tried all ways and means to let Shen Dongling replace herself, but when she saw that Shen Dongling might obtain the favor of the Wang family, Shen Yu was not happy. Humans most likely had a kind of strange heart. Even if one did not want it, one would not want others to easily obtain it. Everyone in the Shen family was stunned. Today they expected that the Wang family would fly into a rage when they found out about the matter and fall out with the Shen residents. But they did not expect that the Wang family would have such an attitude. Not only did the Wang family not hate Shen Dongling, but they were very dissatisfied with the third household of the Shen family. There was ridicule in the open and in the dark. Chen Roqiu still wanted to speak, but was stopped by Shen Wan. Shen Wan said, "Since that is the case, I will go over tomorrow to explain." Before this, one hoped that the in-laws would be more rational and not be blinded by anger. The dark-skinned strong woman smiled and said, "What is third master saying? Right now, the residence is lively and sweet. Master and foreign are very happy, saying that the daughter raised in your residence is excellent. How could they be angry? I'm afraid third master is worrying too much." This dark, strong female was also a talent, and one sentence made Shen Wan choke. She patted Wan Yinyang's hands and smiled at old Shen Foreign. This servant will now bring Wan Yinyang back and hope that old Foreign will approve. Eldest young master is in the residence waiting for this servant to return and report. She actually brought out Wang Bai's name. Old Shen Foreign frowned as she looked at Shun Wan and Shen Gui. She also faintly felt that today's matter was somewhat strange. After all, Shun Wan was Shun Yu's father, and Wan Yinyang was a person from the second household. Thus, she could only make a decision to her two sons. Shen Gui was unable to come up with any ideas, and Shun Wan's face was gloomy, but he said, "Since that is the case, Wan Yinyang will follow along. It is rare that a child has such a heart." These words were neither yin nor yang, but it made one's back turn cold. Wan Yinyang was half pleasantly surprised and half frightened. She was pleasantly surprised because the Wang family did not seem to intend to pursue Shen Dongling's wrongdoings, and she was frightened because she did not know if the Wang family deliberately did this, or if it was to express their dissatisfaction and deliberately anger the third household. At the end, Shen Dongling would still be the one to be sacrificed. The dark, strong woman did what she said and brought Wan Yinyang away in front of everyone in the Shen family. Rong Jingtang was silent, and after a moment, old Shen Foreign said coldly, "What exactly is going on?" The strange attitude of the Wang clan was even more unsettling than if they had torn off all pretense of cordiality. Chang Zaiqing moved her lips and seemed to want to say something, but after seeing Shun Wan's expression, she swallowed the words that were at the tip of her tongue. Shen Gui was somewhat embarrassed. Originally, it was Shun Dongling who snatched Shen Yu's marriage, and he wanted to hand Shen Dongling, mother and daughter, over to the Wang family, so that the Wang family and the third household could appease their anger, but one did not think that there would be such a situation. Shen Gui coughed twice. "Later I will write a letter to Dongling and see what kind of matter she is doing." Shen Wan smiled and looked at Shen Yu before softly saying, "You err. Follow me back to the room first." He turned his head to look at old Shen Foreign and said, "Mother, the Wang family's matter cannot be rashly done. After this, son, personally visit tomorrow to apologize. One think that the matter can be easily solved. It is all this son's fault to disturb this elderly." Chapter 6:23. How can you be blamed for this? Old Shen Foreign sighed, and her tone suddenly became unhappy. It is all because of this third girl. Following that slut one, sure, she learned these things that cannot be shown in public. She then complained to Chen Rochio, "If you were more serious in handling matters, then third girl would not have taken advantage of the loophole." Chen Rochio had a stomach full of anger because of Shun Yu's matter and felt wronged and heartache. Now that she was being scolded by old Shen Foreign, she retorted, "How can mother blame me? I also did not think that third lady would have such thoughts. Mother is really too muddle-headed to blame this matter on me." "You say that I am muddle-headed?" Old Shen Foreign was furious. Chen Rochio still wanted to speak, but was shouted at by Shen Wan. "Enough." She was slightly surprised for a moment. For so many years, Shen Wan had never said such harsh words to her, and this was the first time he shouted at her. Shen Wan said, "You err. Follow me back to the room." Shen Yu timidly complied. Chang Zhaoqing, who was at the side, saw this scene, and an imperceptible smile floated on her lips. Shen Yu followed Shen Wan back to the room, and Shen Wan's back faced her without speaking. Shen Yu thought that Shen Wan was unhappy about the Wang family's matter. Thinking of the Wang family's attitude today, and thinking that Shen Dongling might have gained the favor of the Wang family, and was using her identity to benefit from both sides, Shen Yu was extremely dissatisfied. She said, "Father, that Wang family is clearly using their power to bully others and did not put you in their eyes. What kind of words were said today? In the future, if third younger sister were to use my identity to live, then what should I do? Third younger sister snatched my marriage, and now she still wants to snatch my identity. "Father, you cannot ignore me." Shin Yu's words could be said as a matter of course. Perhaps it was because she had told so many lies that she believed it. Shin Yu almost believed that this matter was started by Shin Dongling, and it was Shin Dongling who quietly harmed her. "She snatched your marriage?" Without turning back, Shun Wan slowly asked. Shin Yu did not hear that Shun Wan's tone was wrong and nodded. "Exactly." A pop slap landed on Shin Yu's face. When Shin Rochio entered the room and saw this scene, she exclaimed "You" before going forward to hug Shin Yu and roared at Shin Wan. "What are you doing?" "What did I do?" Shin Wan didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed. "Why don't you ask your good daughter what she did?" As Shun Yu covered her face, her body could not help but tremble. Although the handprint on her face was painful, it was nothing compared to the fear in her heart. You dare to say that you didn't know anything about this? Was it really Shin Dongling who harmed you and stole your marriage? Do you really think your cunning tricks can fool everyone? You let Shin Dongling marry on your behalf, and you only want to marry Prince Ding. Have you ever thought of offending the Wang family? So what if I, your father, am offended? Without this marriage, how will you get married in the future? I, Shin Wan, have such an intelligent and good daughter like you. It is really a blessing that I have cultivated in my previous life. Shin Wan was a civil official, and his looks were not bad. Normally, he would have a cultured and refined appearance, and had always doted on Shin Yu. This was the first time he showed such a ferocious expression to Shin Yu. Chun Rochio trembled as she looked at Shin Yu in her embrace and asked, Is what your father said true? I just want freedom." Shin Yu whispered in fear and suddenly thought of something before raising her head. "But Shin Dongling also tempted me." Now the Wang family's attitude towards us is obviously instigated by Shin Dongling. It is all because of Shin Dongling, that slut. "Shut up." The more Shin Wan heard, the angrier he got. "You are stupid and still blame others. All the books that you have read have gone into a dog's stomach." Shin Yu had never met such a ferocious Shin Wan, and her eyes immediately turned red. Ever since Chin Rochio heard that Shin Yu admitted that it was she who wanted to exchange marriage, she closed her eyes in despair. She did not expect that Shin Yu would be so daring to do such a thing. But Shin Yu was after all a daughter that crawled out from her womb and had been carefully taught for so many years. Chin Rochio only had this one daughter, so when she heard Shun Wan blaming her, she could not help but say, "Even though Yuer is wrong, she is also not sensible. I think that Yuer is right." Shin Dongling was clearly deliberately seducing Yuer, and one feared that this matter was all planned by Shin Dongling. Chapter 6:24. Shin Wan pressed his forehead, and his gaze towards Chun Rochio was filled with disappointment. He said, "When did you become unable to distinguish right from wrong?" Chun Rochio was surprised for a moment. She only heard Shun Wan continuing, "Never mind. Tomorrow I will personally visit the Wang family to apologize. But I do not know if this matter will succeed. After all, it is our Shun family's fault first, and if it does not succeed, then it is your own fault." Finishing speaking, he glanced at Shin Yu before turning and leaving with a brush of his sleeves. Chun Rochio was alarmed by Shun Wan's disappointed eyes when he left. She still wanted to say something, but Shun Wan had already left the room. Looking at the sobbing Shin Yu, she could only turn her head to comfort her daughter. When Shun Wan left the room, the servant beside saw his exhausted appearance and asked, "Does this lord want to go out of the residence to relax?" "No need." Shin Wan waved his hands and, after thinking for a while, said, "Go to the western courtyard." The western courtyard was currently the courtyard where Chang Zaiqing stayed. The manservant did not speak and silently brought Shun Wan to the west courtyard. These two people did not see that there was a person looking at their back from afar. This person was Zhang Mama, who was by old Shin Furin's side in Rongjing Tang. Zhang Mama muttered to herself in doubt. Why would third master go to the western courtyard? The farce that happened in the early morning in the Shun residence quickly spread to Shin Miao's ears. At the beginning, when the Shun residence was separated, Shin Miao also picked some maids from the second and third household, and even from Rongjing Tang. Chun Rochio's ability to manage the household was not as good as Ren Wanyan's. At the beginning, when Run Wan Yun was managing official matters, every courtyard, especially Kai Yun Yuan, was like an iron bucket, and it was difficult to insert spies. When Chun Roqiu managed the Shun residence, it was like a plate of loose sand. In addition, with the sudden decrease in income and expenditure of the Shun residence, the servants did not live as well as in the past. As long as Xin Miao took out some money, it was a very common thing to bribe the servants. Moreover, what she wanted to ask was not any confidential matters, but only the big and small matters that happened in the Xin residence. As long as one inquired a little, one would be able to find out. After the second household of the Xin family declined, it was the third household that supported the Shun family. Chun Roqiu usually had the bearing of a matriarch of the household, and Xinyu was even more outstanding because there were no other sisters competing with her. He didn't know if it was because he had lived a comfortable life for too long that his brain wasn't enough. For example, Xinyu's move this time was really terrible. After this matter, Xinwan really did as he said. The next day, he went to the Wang family to apologize. She didn't know what kind of excuse he had prepared, but he probably wanted to tactfully push all the blame onto Xin Dongling, who knew that this time, the Wang family would give Shunwan a tight slap. The Wang family did not accept Shunwan's apology, as the Wang family did not even acknowledge Xinyu. They had to say that Xin Dongling was the daughter of the third household, and as for Xinyu apologies, they did not know her at all. Xinwan was extremely embarrassed. He could tell that the other party was deliberately finding fault with him. He understood even more that the Wang family already knew that the exchange of marriage was proposed by Xinyu, so they deliberately made things difficult for him. Xinwan thought that with his relationship with the Wang family, he would be able to put on airs for a while, and the Wang family would eventually exchange Xinyu and Xin Dongling back, but this time Xinwan guessed wrongly. Thus at the end there were two solutions. One was that Xin Dongling would marry over with Shun Yu's identity, and the real Shun Yu would no longer be seen in front of the world. This naturally made Shun Wan unable to accept it. Then there was the second solution. Xin Yu would also marry into the Wang family with the name of a Pinchi. Because everyone had participated in Xin Yu and Wang Bai's marriage. This time the real Xin Yu's marriage need not be big, and others would think that it was a Shu daughter marrying. Thus it was so low-key. Chapter 6:25. This method almost made Shun Wan leave in a huff. It was not unheard of for a D daughter and a Shu daughter to serve the same husband, but in general, it was the D daughter who was the wife and the Shu daughter who was the concubine. What the Wang family proposed was an equal wife. Moreover, in order to deceive others, Xinyu wanted to hold the marriage with the identity of a Shu daughter, and Xin Dongling, who was a Shu daughter, had snatched away the honor that Xinyu should have. This was a humiliation. Xinwan flatly refused, but the Wang clan's attitude was also very firm. After all, it was not the Wang family's fault for mistaking the bride. Now Xin Dongling and Wang Bai were getting along well, thus they did not care about Xinyu. But the Wang family could drag it on, but Xinyu could not. If this goes on, the one who would suffer would only be Xinyu. Thus Shun Wan was somewhat hesitant and quarreled with Chun Roqiu several times over this matter. As Bai Lu was talking to Xin Miao about the things that came back from the Xin residence, she was also looking at Xin Miao's overjoyed look. Xin Miao had always been calm, and it was rare for her to be this happy, as if she was really happy. The young lady is amused, Bai Lu said. This time second young lady has also lifted a rock to smash her own feet, causing so much trouble for no reason, giving third master a headache all day long. If you ask me, it's still third miss who got lucky. Shuang Jiang said. Third young lady not only fished up an official's foreign, but also received the concern of the Wang family from top to bottom, and even brought one yin yang over. It is really glorious. That's hard to say. Bai Lu shook her head. If second young lady also marries into the Wang family, even though they are equal wives, there is still a difference between D and Shu. Third miss only had one concubine, while second miss at least had third master as her maiden family. In the end, the Wang family would be biased towards second. Mississippi third miss may be pleased with herself now, but the days ahead are long. Xin Miao smiled. Wrong. third older sister is a powerful person. Bai Lu and Shuangjiang looked at Shun Miao together. Shun Miao said, even if there is a day when Shun Yu marries into the Wang family, she would definitely not be comparable to Shen Dongling. I think that the reason why the Wang family would treat the third household so coldly was because the Wang family knew that the matter of exchanging marriages was suggested by Shen Yu. Which man in the world would like a wife who disliked him? Even a man's dignity would not allow it. And for people like Shun Yu and Shen Dongling, when they married into another residence, before they gave birth to a child, they could only rely on Wang Bai's favor. Unfortunately, Shen Yu has already lost. Shen Yu is not able to get Wang Bai's favor, and one fear that Wang Bai would not let her give birth easily. Even though there is a difference between the Di and Shu, but as the same wife, whoever gives birth to the child first would naturally be the one to make the decision. Shen Miao said lightly. Moreover, with Shun Yu's brains, how would she be able to compete with Shen Dongling? Now that Shen Dongling is able to pull herself out of this matter, and was able to make Wang Bai not blame her, and even bring Wan Yinyang out of the Shen residence, and was able to throw back all the dirty water that the third household threw at her. How could such a powerful person be defeated in Shen Yu's hands? Bai Lu and Shuangjiang were both surprised, and after a long while, Shuangjiang said, it seems that third young lady is indeed a powerful person. She is the only one in the Shen residence who has some prospects. Shen Miao said, help me to grind the ink. Bai Lu went ahead to find the scented ink, and as she was grinding it, she saw Shen Miao taking out a brush and paper, as if she was going to write something. Bai Lu asked, is young lady going to write a letter? Shen Miao declined to comment. Naturally, Shun Yu had created such a big wave of trouble for herself, which made Shen Miao feel happy. But she did not forget that in the previous lifetime, the third household also contributed a lot in the downfall of the Shen family's first household. There would be a day when she would get her revenge for this big gift. Actually, not only the third household knew how to hit someone when they were down, she also knew how to do it. She did not want to do it herself from the beginning to the end. But if the third household were to force her to do it herself, she would not mind letting the third household walk faster. Shen Wan and Shun Roqiu quarreled all day long, and at this time, they needed the comfort of a confidant. It was time for Cang Zaiqing to go on stage. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.